Hello everyone and welcome to the second ever video on this channel. Today we are going to be making another mosaic by cutting up a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It came out really cool, so I think you're going to love it. Let's start off with the supplies. So we've got this Strathmore Bristol paper here, and it's like card sized, I believe. We've got double-sided tape. You're going to need that to stick down all the pieces of the cut up cards onto the paper. And next up, you have one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, which is this X-Acto knife here. I use a brand called Olfa because it was cheaper than the main X-Acto brand or whatever. And I got a bunch of extra blades for it too, although I didn't end up actually switching this whole time. But I recommend to most people that you probably switch blades. I have scissors as well, as I just showed a second ago. And a pencil, as usual. A pen. Any sort of pen should work as long as it's fine tipped. And a ruler. I didn't actually use the pen for anything other than like one dot in this, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, so let's get into the sketch. As you can see here, we're doing Metamorpot this time. So I just put down the card next to my sketch as a reference, and I start sketching it out. Just the general shape of the Metamorpot. And it doesn't have to be super duper clean. This is just a rough sketch that we're building up here as a base for everything that's going to go over it. So you're not going to actually see this at the end. But, you know, you want to get things as accurate as possible because it's going to be what your guidelines are. And then I just go in and I just sort of color stuff, not for the sake of it looking really good or anything, but just for the sake of making it clear what colors things are going to be and just having sort of a background color underneath the mosaic, because I find that, you know, there's always some tiny gaps and it's just nice to have those gaps filled in with a bit of color. It really helps to make things come together nicely at the end. So I sort of just keep defining everything and put the shadows in, whatever, and I start cutting up some black pieces because I want to do the black first. This time I really wanted to avoid the mistake I made last time, which was that I didn't actually have an outline around my art piece at first, and that caused issues with distinguishing the background from the subject. So now I am going to do outlines probably for pretty much everything I make from this point on. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting up a bunch of stuff for outline, and now I'm just cutting up some of the main colors for the pot itself, which is various different colors of green and blue, as you can see. And maybe some grays here and there as well. But yeah, so I just continue to cut things up. Okay, so this next step in the process here is quite a pivotal one. You really need to make sure you set up your tape properly. This is what everything is going to stick to. Now that we've got most of our sort of main pieces of card all cut up, we just start setting up to actually lay things down. And this is the first step in doing that. And as you can see, I kind of messed up at first and had to redo a few times as I went. You just got to make sure you go all the way across the whole thing so you don't miss anything. And you got to make sure you line them up right next to each other, parallel to each other, running in the same direction so you can get really even coverage and make sure you can cover this whole thing by the end with your pieces of the cards that you've cut up to make the mosaic, because you don't want to have any empty space, and you definitely don't want to have gaps between the tape because that will just look horrible. So now that we've got all the tape down, what we want to do is get the scissors out and carefully, very carefully, cut off all the excess around the borders of the paper, just to make sure that we don't have a bunch of tape hanging off, because that's not going to be handy at all for us. It's not going to be good. So we start cutting, and you can start by, you know, if you don't want to cut right along the edge, you can just leave a little bit of extra along the edges and kind of trim that off later towards the end of the project if you want, just for safety. I pretty much cut it all the way down to the edges of the paper because I've done a lot of this sort of stuff in my life and I'm pretty comfortable with it. And here it is. So next up, we peel off all of the protective layers on the tape, these sort of plasticky layers above, and or like wax paper maybe it is, and then we start doing the outline of our character or creature or whatever it is you're choosing to do. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing in this. You can choose another Yu-Gi-Oh character or just unique original art piece, which I'll probably do eventually as well here, since I actually specialize more in that sort of thing anyway. But yeah, you just start laying down the pieces of the outline and defining the subject here. Eventually it's going to be full of color as well, and we're going to have the background full of color, so we just got to make it stand out from everything and make it clear to everybody what they're looking at. I also start filling in the other portions that are black, like the inside of the pot, because in the original artwork it is quite dark. So fortunately I've got all these extra pieces that I've cut up for the outline, and those I can use to fill in this area. Okay, so now it's time to do the body. Now that we finished the head, and we just start filling in and adding the outlines here. So I start putting the kind of shadowy areas in with these blacks, the darkest shadows. I use the black pieces that I have left over to do the darkest areas of shadow on the body, and I start just kind of filling in like a puzzle. I find pieces that I think would fit well in an area, and I just pop those in first, and I just continue to go in that way pretty much until the project of the body portion at least is finished. So I'm gonna speed up, and I'll see you guys back when we finish up with the body. Okay, so after many hours, the body is now done, and it's time to get started on the background. I want to make the background a nice, beautiful hollow, and so I start cutting up some cheap hollow cards I got down at the card shop. I got each of these for 10 cents a piece, about. Actually, technically less than 10 cents, about 8 cents a piece, because it's about 10 yen per card. So don't worry, guys, not cutting up anything valuable here for this background. And I just start placing them in like I would with anything else, like puzzle pieces. And the cool thing about doing the background is that if there's something along the border and you want to make it fit, well, you can just cut off the excess that hangs off. So that's what I do. And I just continue going this way as I have with the body, laying in like puzzle pieces over and over and over again until we finish up with the background. So again, I'm going to fast forward until we get to the end of this portion, and I hope you guys enjoy watching this process, because it was really kind of fun to do, but it took a hell of a lot of time. And so, you know, if there's any way you guys would like me to kind of edit this up to make it quicker, if you prefer that, or if there's just some other way you prefer for me to present it. If you guys prefer to see more of the process even, that would be totally fine too. It's actually less editing work for me that way. So just let me know what you guys think. Anyways, I'm going to speed up now, and we'll head off to when we finish up with the background. Okay, so the background is now pretty much complete, and it's time to get started on the eye. So I start cutting up some pinks for this guy's eye. Looks like he's been smoking a little bit of that wacky weed, if you know what I mean. And that's what I do now. Save the best bit for last, I always say. And the eye, you know, who doesn't like drawing eyes or making eyes in artwork? Something about eyes, they just draw the focus of people. I guess we were evolved to focus on eyes, right? So they tend to be the thing that we notice the most. So I save it for last, and I'm starting to lay these in now. And I really like the kind of pattern that we've got on some of these pieces. I'm using the eye here. One of the things that's really great about Yu-Gi-Oh cards, actually, for mosaics, is how much variety there is in different colors and tones and values, and the different patterns you can get even within the same kind of colors. Because, you know, sometimes you end up with pieces like the stuff we've got in the eye here, and they almost look like seashells. I really like that. So I place the sort of pupil in the center of the eye now, and I begin to cut up some more holographic pieces, because we're going to make this eye hollow, baby. You know what it is. So I'm cutting up, again, well, actually, for the teeth now. I had forgot entirely, actually, about the teeth thing. I'm just kind of freestyling this voice, if you guys can't tell. So, yeah, I'm laying in the teeth now, the grills, so to speak. I really had fun with this part, and I think the teeth actually, almost as much as the eye even, made a huge difference in the appearance of this piece. I mean, those grills are so shiny and magnificent. And the cool thing is, I was actually able to use the same card for the teeth, just one card, just one hollow card for the teeth and for the eye. So not all cards are made equal for this. Some are really useful, and you can kind of just reuse them for a bunch of different things. And I still have some leftovers even from this one specific card, and we'll probably use it in future pieces. And it was just a 10-cent, 10-cent card. So I think one of the most amazing things about this is that there's just so many cards that are kind of useless to actually be used in game, or are just so easy to find that they actually lose their value almost entirely. And you can finally create some value for those cards by putting them into a unique art piece this way. So that's kind of why I had the idea for this concept in the first place, was that I just noticed there were so many cool cards around that nobody really gave a shit about, and I wanted to put them into a form where maybe somebody would have the opportunity to kind of see them in a different light, so to speak. And with this piece specifically, I mean, it's only my second time ever doing this, and I think it's probably the second time anyone's done it in the world, period, because I've never seen anybody else do this. But I think I did a great job, and you guys can judge for yourself now, too, if I did. Here is the final piece. Man, I really like how it came out. It's just so sparkly, shiny. The background, especially in the teeth, they really get me every time, along with that eye. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think, what you want to see next. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!